Hello and welcome back to the Panacea model. We are discussing accountability. We are on the fourth stage in the healing process. And this is where we're going to have a little fun because we might be shaking things up a little bit. Winston Churchill stated, "The price for greatness is responsibility." If you want to become a full, higher performing individual and reach your potential, this tool is a must and non-negotiable. By taking yourself seriously and looking at how you are creating your reality now and can begin to create the reality you desire is the first key to your personal success. Seems simple enough? So have you ever heard the expression that you are responsible for everything that happens in your life? It may be hard for many to believe that they are the motherboard to all their reality in which their thoughts and behaviors are creating. Some may want to wrestle with this statement. However, it is entirely accurate in every definition of the word. This could rattle a few things as we seem to like creating a stir, but it's all in good intent. But we're going to go ahead and explore this a lot further. Our brains are hardwired to focus through the negativity bias where things are negative and wherever we can continue to point blame in our life. But I can guarantee you in any area that you are feeling powerless, you have put yourself at the mercy of life and in the victim seat instead of taking and owning your own power, metaphorically speaking. We can discuss this further with a few examples, and we must first learn how to distinguish the difference between acting from our ego and acting from intuition. So I hope you feel a little excited about this. Learning to listen to the inner voice, the intuition, that wants to be heard. Which suppressed feelings or emotions where you feel shame or are you hiding is generally a great place to start because we often hide the quirks that we're afraid of showcasing in fear of being judged or rejected. So our ego may fight by defending, shielding, or trying to be right as a coping mechanism of not feeling hurt again as conditioned in times past. So look for what's missing in a relationship. Generally speaking, when things go wrong, we tend to want to project blame and not take accountability, which may allay feeling blame or made wrong. Irrespective, anxiety and frustration will perpetuate to balance the scales of integrity and keep reducing us to the powerless victim seat by not owning our own part in the outcome and taking full control of our destiny. This will always leave us at the mercy of others and external circumstances rather than learning the art of empowerment by first putting on our big girl boys or pants to take 100%, yes, 100% responsibility to every part and all outcomes, the creations as well as the miscreations in life and in our actions. So are we shaking things up yet? Take a deep breath and look at what you did to contribute to any conflict in your life and what you could have done better. Some are better at this than others and are in a different part and level of their healing. So it's a good exercise for us to contemplate where we could have acted better toward ourselves or others to produce a desired outcome. Rather than bark back at someone, it helps to see what they may not be saying and investigate the inner dialogue of the inaudible of what their true intentions are. So what were your intentions? Let's do some mirroring work. To avoid a squabble and how you can both reach a mutual understanding, have you perhaps met your partner or spouse's individual needs or feelings first? If not, then how can you expect them to meet yours? You may not have control over others' actions. However, you can help influence them by taking the first step to create our desired result and owning our power by acknowledging our needs and feelings we want, thereby putting yourself in alignment with achieving that desire. Remember to acknowledge your own feelings and what voice needs to be heard or expressed. Where maybe are you feeling judged by others that it's actually where you're judging yourself. Perhaps where you're not accepting others or where you're not feeling accepted is your own inner voice telling you where you still have room to accept yourself. And understanding this is often a big missing piece, and therefore it's a severe deficit causing us to seek more attention or validation from others or anywhere outside of us. So please add this monumental step to your mindful practice. Gaining new awareness is key to becoming a self-actualized individual and operating at a higher level. So we're no longer playing small in areas that are calling for new growth and expansion. Play bigger. When we bring the light of awareness into areas of our blindness or the dark, we can finally see solutions and new possibilities in our radar field. This is what's meant in the proverbial sense as I was once blind, but now I see. It's raising our new awareness and to higher levels and where we were once unconscious. Awakening our unified consciousness helps to bridge the gap of division in humanity. And then we can become meta-conscious by taking full responsibility of our lives. We are intelligent beings, and this means that we have the intelligence and power within us to act rather than react or be acted upon in our circumstances, making it possible to transform the conditions in our lives, even past experiences and hurts. Being self-governing is to be independent-minded and proactively do all we can to improve and conquer our circumstances. Understanding, again, everything is internally manufactured. We are all given equal challenges and trials in life in accordance to what our individual capacity and maturity allows. Every day we witness by reading, watching, or learning of the numbers of people who experience pain, tragedy, and suffering. From a professional standpoint, we still have yet to meet an individual who does not possess unique circumstances or special limitations. And again, it's all by design. And so contrary to what we may think, our painful experiences are not unique. These hardships were meant to be conquered and overcome, providing adequate skills to build strength of character, wisdom, and achieve self-mastery by means of human advancement. These important events were not intended to be suffered in vain without meaning. If we remain passive, idly waiting for these obstacles to disappear and our circumstances to suddenly change or transform, we will continue to become subject to its many consequences, allowing them or our circumstances to be in control of our lives. When we're complaining about our problems in such a way, it is an attempt to project blame elsewhere. We are taking a passive victim stance or otherwise unaccountable approach. We have a natural built-in affinity to blame. We can observe this behavior in children, and we often think others are doing things to us and are to blame, or that circumstances are outside of our control. And however, this is an illusion that denies us of our personal power and accountability. We can quickly identify the mental patterns of others when we hear the way they talk about problems, usually as though it's someone else's fault. But whose? Your doctors, your employers, your employees, your spouse, partner, parents? We don't realize that often our first impulse is to place blame somewhere else. But this will further add to our problems, preventing us from seeing our part, then restrict us from resolving the conflicts in our lives. And blaming causes us to be dependent upon others to solve our problems for us, which isn't likely to happen, and will prevent us from drawing upon our own resources, which would help to restore our creative and problem-solving abilities. We all need to learn more critical thinking skills. So look at life, that it will continue to have its problems and challenges, and understanding that these problem-solving skills are necessary resources to learn. Given we should all do our part and fair share to improve conflicting situations and exercise equal accountability, but by no means should we rely solely on others to change our circumstances for us. After all, it is not your doctor's fault if you've been diagnosed with an illness, especially if the primary cause is a result of unhealthy living. Is it another's fault when you're in debt, when you have been unable to maintain a steady job or have poor financial or spending habits? What is your relationship to your health or to your finances? Of course, others may have contributed to our problems and can be responsible in part for some of our struggles. It is not our job to be responsible for others or take accountability for their part, but to own ours. We all are subject to circumstances and hardships now and then. However, what will the blame and anger or this negative attitude accomplish for you? It is disempowering, and the phrase to own our power has as much to do with owning and being accountable for our creations and miscreations as it has to do with being strong and standing in our power. Those who find themselves often blaming others may tend to take things too personally, while others do not let things bother them as easily. This can often be referenced back to our limited beliefs or where our emotional psychological triggers are. So while others do not let the others bother them, it may also be where they do not have that limiting belief. Those who take things more personally, though, will often make the mistake of believing they have suffered more or may feel that their pain must have been much greater. Remember to look at the trigger and where there is an underlying limiting belief when you are feeling hurt. Feeling hurt is normal, and it is not a sign of weakness. It just means we lack the proper skill to handle things more maturely and wisely in the moment. But wisdom is gained through experience. No one else is in charge of our emotions and how we respond to painful events except ours. Blaming others for the way we feel will only perpetuate the suffering rather than liberate us from it. We must emotionally resolve wherever these psychological triggers are that cause us to take things personally. Turning challenges into triumph and overcoming inherent limited beliefs moves us from victim to victor through personal empowerment. Empowerment comes via accountability. By taking responsibility for the conditions we've created in our life, it'll take us from a victim mindset to an empowering one and puts us back into the driver's seat and at the helm of our own ship. If we can shift our focus to the growing power that comes from these painful events, we can minimize and shorten the period of our pain and suffering, which will also avert us from forming long-standing grievances. Sometimes it helps to look at the ABC, the activated event and the behavior that perhaps caused a specific consequence. Knowing why we react, then learning how to respond differently to painful events will cause less suffering. A painful life event, such as an unfaithful friend, cheating business partner, or lying relative, becomes an event you can take personally, and thereby you may miss an opportunity to transform your hurt, angry feelings into an experience that helps you grow, says Dr. Fred Luskin, PhD. When we chronically recreate our sense of injustice, the wounding process begins every time we take what others did personally. And not all painful experiences were meant to be insulting and personal. In fact, most were not even intended to offend, but is usually associated with a personal problem that set off an emotional reaction in the offender. It's generally about the other person. We recognize we can take accountability for our personal emotional responses, and others will take accountability for theirs. Every painful life event has a personal and an impersonal element. Taking offense too easily merely means one has not learned to find the impersonal perspective. The imbalance of a personal-impersonal balance is that it can initiate an experience of a grievance. This does not mean that you are to be responsible for the behaviors and actions of others. However, it does mean you are to be accountable for how you respond to them, and even perhaps how you may have contributed to the situation or problem. Perhaps you have offended another and now they are retaliating. This would mean you are not entirely innocent in this particular situation, although it may not have been deliberate and your intentions were misunderstood. Perchance the only thing you are guilty of is making yourself an easy target for the insult and bullying of others because you failed to take a stand or lacked the ability to defend yourself, which placed others in the temptation of taking advantage of you. Again, you made yourself vulnerable to the situation by not owning your power. There is a popular phrase, 10% of what happens to us and 90% is how we react. So very similarly in these examples. So while we do not have power over the actions of others, having expectations will impose pressure on them and will always lead to disappointment. Expectations are ineffective. If we demand things from others, life will continually let us down. These expectations are our own and are a way of trying to control people, situations, or things because we're not trusting the outcome. This is something many of us are guilty of and can be difficult not to do. If we are not responsible for our own lives and behaviors, we deny our personal power and creative or manifesting abilities. We must consider what we are doing and how we are contributing to the many experiences and repeat occurrences in our lives. So reflect on these questions related to your presenting problem.